Great. Welcome, everyone, and thanks so much for tuning in. Today, I'm excited to be joined by someone who's seen the technology from the inside out, from writing code early in his career to leading enterprise-wide digital transformation as a chief information officer. What stood out to me while learning about today's guest isn't just the scale of the work that he's done, but also that how he consistently brings the conversation back to the people, leadership, mentorship, and purpose. Shaleen, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, San, for a wonderful introduction. Yeah.
Great. To start us off, for listeners who may be meeting you for the very first time, can you please
Yeah.
briefly introduce yourself and what you do today?
My name is Shaleen Dadheech. I'm currently working as the CIO for Leo Schachter Diamonds. It's been a 2.5 journey with Leo Schachter Diamonds, and I began my career as a software engineer. And so my world revolved around delivering functionality and making sure system work exactly as expected, what every software developer does. But that technical foundation became extremely important later on when I became the leader. And over the years, it's been like 21 years, I had an opportunity to work across multiple industries, starting from product based, then software services, telecom, banking. I have done projects with aviation, retail, and now working with like high value assets company in diamond and jewelry. And each industry over the years added a new dimension to my thinking. So telecom taught me the scale and availability. In telecom, your systems needs to be available 24 cross 7. Banking instilled a deep respect for security, compliance, and risk management. Aviation, because aviation you cannot fail. So that is in high pressure, high availability systems. So that told me the precision and resilience. And then I moved to retail and the diamond and jewelry. So now I am learning about the customer experience, system, business agility. So as my role evolved over the period from purely technical to working closely with business stakeholders, so my perspective over the years changed from the execution driven to working with the business stakeholders, how business operates, how business works, kind of. So, and I started seeing IT not just as a support function, but as a strategic lever that could influence growth, efficiency, and decision making. Because right now, every company is going digital, every company is using AI. So you have IT footprints in each departments from sales, compliance, HR, everybody. So about 2.5 years ago, I stepped into the role of CIO with Leo Schachter, which brought all these experiences together. So I am working with finance, I'm working with the senior management, the owners, everybody, and to gather their vision and how IT can enable we can use IT as in you can say a catalyst to achieve their vision. And because we are now dealing with high value assets, global supply chain, international integration, and plus in diamond, you have increased regulatory compliances also. So how we match everything. So yeah, so today my role it has evolved, aligning technology with business strategy, and it's kind of modernizing ERP and all those kind of things. So it's an wholesome, you can say I'm looking from a broader lens rather than uh, going into the execution mode when I started my career.
Yes, wonderful. Thanks so much for the very interesting snapshot that you give throughout your career. And I think one of the things that stood out to me while listening to your own professional journey is that you've lived through a few different tech eras already. So, what's the one early moment from your career, maybe when you were still a developer, that really stayed with you today?
Uh, yeah, so it's like uh, what to say, like it's when I moved from, you can say, software development, because software development is like you get all the requirements, you make into bits and pieces, then you start from milestone to milestone. So it's kind of a phased manner you approach any problem. Sense. So I can give you one example
Yes.
where I started, like it's so when I was as a leader, I was handling a large team
Mm,
with the high pressure environment, and we had like everything was in place, like on papers everything was in place. So we have our project charters, we have our project plan, all those matrices what are required for a successful project. So initially, when I when I started as a software developer, I always thought like when you have everything right, you have your architectural principle, you have defined roles, defined everything, so the success will follow, right? But on the ground, when you hit with the hard reality, then because you have different stakeholders, and each
mm,
stakeholder has their reservations
yeah.
towards a change, like any transformation or change. And it's not about, you can say, technology. It's about lack of certainty. You have fear of disruption. What changes they are bringing in those processes. So it's about mindset. So changing the mindset and aligning them was the real challenge. So what I did was I just stepped back and I just realized why things are not working,
Right.
why stakeholders don't get the clarity, and then I started meeting with people on different forums, like you can say sales, all those different stakeholders, and I started understanding their issues. So it's kind of a very important thing to listen also, like, and those are the people who are very close to those processes. So
Mm,
not any document gives you a clear picture than them. So I understood their point of view, and then we just stepped back, and then we reshaped our strategy, and then we aligned all those stakeholders. And I think then slowly things getting into place, the team again got that confidence, the stakeholder got that confidence, and eventually we were successfully able to deliver that project. So that was kind of opened my mind. Sometimes you, like as a developer, you go for quick wins, like okay, short term fixes, okay, this is the problem and I'll fix this, and but sometimes those problems create long term technical debt. So that is where my whole momentum shift, you can say, as a leader. And I now and then also it taught me
mm.
how to be calm under those pressure situations. Yeah.
Yes, that's very interesting, Sharon. I think the examples that you just gave us gives us highlights that this isn't just a tech problem, but it's also a people problem. And I love how you approached the problem-solving mindset by talking with the people on the ground, the ones who are doing and working with the solutions every single day. And I think that leads me to the next question, which is your next chapter, Sharon, for I'm curious why, what initially pushed you to step back and pursue an MBA? Was there a specific moment or conversation that you think, oh, this is where I need to stop and focus on my MBA?
Yeah. So I was like it was around 11, 12 years in the technical industry. I was doing a techno managerial role kind of thing where I was handling the team, handling the large projects, and plus also involved in the not day-to-day execution, you can say. It's like kind of whenever team required me to step in.
Mm,
So then I realized there is a significant gap, because right now I am only technically oriented mind. So I need a business oriented mind also to think in broader lens. So then I thought like because as you know that you have part-time MBAs also where you can continue
Yes.
with your work. But I thought like I need to take a break. I need to give 100% to this MBA and to learn more about business aspects of the side. Because in the future, if I want to work with business leaders, I need to have that mindset. I need to understand like from different roles, like how sales is working, how what are the things what companies requires the most, which is not, which is you can say there is always a wall between the business side and the technical side. So
Mm,
technical side people only understand like how they can make the system better. But
right.
what is the value that gives it to the business? How we can create those values, how we can create those small wins in terms of with the system. It's not about completely transform the company or the processes or anything. How small processes can make the change.
Mm,
Like I can give you one small example. Like
sure.
when I started working with Leo Schachter, so there was a problem with the supply chain.
Mm,
So and all the orders were like 20 or 30% orders were getting delayed. So what? So I discussed with the owners, the CEO, and the sales team, and all those teams. And there was a very small problem because there was no ownership between the stages.
mm,
And there is no communication or transparency between the stages. So that was a very simple problem. And people were thinking about like changing the whole supply chain, bringing new tools and all those. So we just did, there was a flow with all the approvals, the escalation matrices. So it was very simple. We gave them, and after that, it significantly improved their orders on time.
yes.
So it is changing the perspective. It is not about changing the complete system. It's sometimes the problem is small and you don't have to dig a whole kind. It's kind of that. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right when you're saying that you came back with a much broader lens when you finished your MBA. So I think, yes, I love to understand how you also approach digital transformation, Shannon. So can you please share a time when a digital initiative almost failed or it did fail, and what it taught you initially?
Uh, yeah. So, it's like not a complete failure, but yeah, like in during the process, you have your ups and downs, and like setbacks are always part and parcel of any leadership program.
Yes.
So yeah, so it's kind of like when we what example should I give? Yeah, so it's kind of when I was working with the aviation industry. So in aviation industry, I was working with Bangalore International Airport. So it was a complete digital transformation because they were using legacy processes, legacy systems. So they wanted the whole system which communicate between each department. They want a transparent workflows. They want a clear hierarchies or you can say authentication matrices and everything. So it was like from legacy to the complete digital. So initially what we suggested them the technology, they were agreed on it. So everything was getting into place. And slowly, everybody is gathering the requirement from different teams.
Mm,
So we have everything in place. You have all the requirements written. You have everything for the milestones, the phases, everything. Like each department will have a separate deadlines and all those things. So
mm,
everything was falling in place, and the team was very happy. And then they were kind of delivering. You can say each tasks on time and everything.
mm,
Suddenly, we realized that there was a miscommunication or gap in between their teams. So like suppose sales was not like have sales doesn't have any idea what procurement processes are and how we are transforming those procurement processes. Procurement doesn't know what the legal doesn't have any idea about HR, and there was an uncertainty between them.
Mm,
So even though we were working, so there was an uncertainty among the key stakeholders, and slowly, the progress was stalled, kind of the project, and the timelines were getting delayed because of the changes, or because of you can say like the last minute changes, kind of, oh no, this process will not work, or that process will not work, kind of that. So what we did was, and the team, like if your timelines are delayed, if the stakeholder are not happy, so both stakeholders and team got into kind of like disappointment situation. Like,
right.
so what we did was we didn't push the stakeholders at that point of time. So we just stepped back and we understood what we have delivered and what are the gaps and how we can fill those gaps without disrupting the base of what we have transformed till now.
Mm,
And then we have restructured our architecture a little bit and redo all those their expectations, and we published the new requirements. We took the alignment with all the key stakeholders, whether it's a procurement head or sales head or the innovation lead or all those people,
mm,
and then slowly again gather the pace. So it was a time of between 1.5 month where everything was completely at stop, and you sometimes you don't know as a small team member or a project manager like
mm,
how to move forward. So there you need to be patient, calm, try to understand the user's point of view, because any which ways, whether it's new technology or AI, or you can say blockchain, all those new technologies are coming. They are reinventing your processes. They are adding the automation and all those things. But the what the leadership right now is more humanized and contextual than it used to be, because you need to have empathy with the users. You need to understand their requirement. You need to see how we can align the technology and the requirement and the user's perspective. I think that's where the main challenge, what I feel is, because right now sometimes we go like, okay, AI is very suitable for this,
right.
but blindly we should not adapt any technology. We should understand, because if a decision doesn't feel right ethically or compromise your credibility, I think it's not worth the short term game, because you need to have long term people, and their instincts are always required. So
Mm,
in diamond and jewelry, whatever AI you can bring or digital transformation, in the end, you require that human instinct also in, and like who are working on the ground level.
right.
So that is where I understood to keep the balance, how to keep the balance, how to make the stakeholders aligned at each moment. And it is about aligning them.
Mm.
Once they understand the broader picture, I think they slowly, naturally, that alignment flows.
Yes. Shalyn, I think you often light up when you talk about stakeholder management, about people development and people management. So I'm curious, is there a mentee or a team member whose journey really captures why mentorship matters to you?
Uh, it's I think what my perspective is, like how not a single team member, like
Mm,
over the period of time, there are so many team members whom I worked with, and they came as like a strong leaders, you can say. Whether they are working as a software developer, their mindset was kind of a strong leader.
right.
So what I did personally was to give them that space to grow,
Mm,
because everybody generally talk about culture, how you develop the culture and all those things. So what I feel or what I believe is, the culture isn't created through slogans or posters. Like every day it is shaped by your actions, conversations, and decisions you take. For that, you need to have a shared sense of purpose. So if your team get that, like everybody can step up,
mm,
because if you only pick star, I think you will have you can say unbalance in you don't have any balance in your team. So I think it's better to give everybody that space, that system, that environment to grow.
Mm,
So it's like people want to know like what they do matters. Like even if a software developer who is working on any of the requirement or any of the issue, if they know what value they are bringing, whether it's a small task or they are modernizing ERP systems, enabling digital growth. So it is kind of a bigger project, but I'm talking about the small things also.
right.
So once they understand what value they are bringing to the system, I think they slowly get into that sense of you can say ownership.
Yes.
I think that is more required right now, empowering your team members. So
Mm,
I generally have different owners for each task, each project kind of thing. So I give team ownership and the space to make decisions. I know, like everybody, I'm also not very perfect to take every decision right. So so you have your makers and checkers kind of things. Like sometimes you have an approval flow, but not for every small task. While clear, so while they are taking the decisions, so they know they are the owners. So they know about the expectations. Because what I understand from my the 21 years that micromanagement erodes trust
mm,
every time. Like whenever you micromanage people, you are just pulling them down. They
mm,
don't grow technically, professionally, personally, whatever you can say. So
mm.
when you give the ownership, you builds the confidence and accountability. So where I have so many, like what I understand is like if I give people that much of space, maybe they can become the leader because everybody has that aspiration to become a leader. So once you give that platform, once you give them free space, they'll also become a strong leader where they know that importance of that environment, and like it passes through like different people, like smaller team members and all those things. So that is where I see that you need to empower your team members. You need to have a shared sense of purpose, and how you stand with your team during the tough times. That is also most important, because many a times there are blames on your on IT or any team from different stakeholders. So you should stand up for your team, so that gives also sense of trust between you as a leader and the team members. So I think that's where, if you foster that environment, I think you will have more and more leaders and good leaders in future.
Yes. I really love how you approach the task management in a very structured way. And also, thanks so much for sharing your leadership philosophy. And I think it also sticks with a lot of audience here. So, to follow up on that, Shalan, I would love to understand more about the outcomes that made you proud as a leader. So, when you were recalling, was there a team moment during that time, or, like challenging time at the COVID-19 period? Or any, like tough times that you just mentioned that made you especially proud as a leader?
Yeah, so I don't know about saying proud, but yeah, like
Mm.
there are always tough times. I think COVID-19 taught us to work in an environment which we didn't thought of.
Right.
Like everybody was working from home. Previously, it was like more of an office culture. You meet people, so you have those kind of relationships, and a personal relationship always matters, because when the COVID starts, it's more about mechanical. Like you only meet on Teams. You're not meeting with the people, so you don't have relate to those problems. You don't relate to like it's kind of a less empathy towards your team members also, because you everybody is going through so a lot, so others problem feel very small and that's
Yeah.
always everybody thinks of.
Mm.
So yeah, and so after that there was a significant change in terms of technology. So right now we are operating in a world where AI, blockchain, digital transformation, cloud, so you hear every new buzzword every day. Okay, you have cyber security threats and everything. So you are on your toes every time. So that is you can say beauty of every company getting into the digital space. So you need to have a cyber security threat. You need to align every goal and everything with your digital enablement and everything. So what I understand is every leader,
Mm,
they should have a forward learning thinking. It's always not about the skill set. It's about the thinking, how you think through it. It's not about taking any new technology and putting it in your environment, whether it's applicable or whether it's not applicable. Because
mm,
if you see diamond and jewelry industry, AI is now getting into like putting their foot into diamond and jewelry because it's a very high value assets. You have a long legacies. Like if you talk about Leo Schachter, they started in 1952. It's about 72 years.
mm,
So they have their own legacy. They have four generations worked in this company. Then you have, once you have this 72 years, you have a long lasting relationship with your existing customers or partners and all those things. So anything what you put should not disrupt all these kind of legacy processes, legacy things, or your relationship with your consumers. So you need to think through where does every leader should understand, like whatever I'm putting, where does this creates value,
mm,
where where does it introduces risk, if there is any risk, what is the impact, whether it's a positive. So it's always a cost value analysis, so you need to have that. And thankfully I think my MBA taught me a lot about this. That is where I always feel like you should have a competence for leaders to have a good leader, not just an ambition. Like from the day one, when I started as a software developer,
mm,
I was thinking about I'll be a leader, but I was not competent enough to lead anything.
mm,
So over the periods, you need to master, like whether you are a functional guy or a technical guy or operational guy, like once you become a leader in operation, you have CEO, but you need to understand the process. You need to master that process and then put a broader lens to it, because micro view will give you only the solution for that problem. But the macro view, once you sit back and see from a bird's eye view, you will understand, okay, if I do this, the company will get benefited in next 2 years or 1 year, and and then slowly works. Don't rush into anything. So it's kind of sometimes you need to take break also. That's what I did for 1.5 year. I took MBA and it changed my whole perspective towards how companies operate in right now very competitive environment. So that is where it's, you can say it's a proud or not proud, but yeah,
yeah.
like I learned from my mistakes. Every day I'm learning. Every day you do mistakes and then you learn from it. And the best part should be that you don't repeat your mistakes. So then you are slowly learning. So that is where I'm always curious to learn. I'm always asking questions, even with the junior team members. I'll sit with them, I learn with them, because everything, because leader don't should like all the leaders should not have answers at that moment only. And right now, leaders are not engineers also, like because you once you grow past certain level, you became leader, but they should understand what is AI, what is automation, what is analytics, what realistically we can do in our current scenario. So that is where I think I feel you can say privileged working in so many industries that gave me that sense of technology, sense of leadership.
Yes, wonderful. And I think throughout this conversation, you have come back again and again to impact through people. So, if a younger version of you were listening to this episode, Shalyn, what would you want him to take away?
Uh, Yeah, so I would start by saying that leadership is a journey. Like I started my journey as a software developer and now I became a CIO. So it's not a destination. Like all these titles, promotions come and go.
Mm,
But but you need to be grounded. Like it's something that uh, you need to have your own values, you can say,
mm,
because your values will remain with you, like whether it's your hard working or reflect humility, or you can say building a culture between the team, because you're because in this company I'm a CIO, but in next company maybe I'm not the leader, so it's kind of your titles change but your journey always goes on.
right.
So I would say to the younger generation, first you have to build a strong foundation. Okay.
Mm.
So it's like what I was telling you, that
Yeah.
strong leaders should be competent enough. It's not just like I aspire to be a leader. You need to have those credibility and confidence with you, and that comes with your experience. Okay. Secondly, you should always be curious and adaptable, like flexible,
Mm,
because your industries, technologies, business model, they are rapidly changing every day. You will find a new technology that is coming. AI is bringing now genetic AI and generative AI, then agentic AIs and all those, and like you. Every new technology is bombarding with you new tools and your applications that can ease operation, like whether it's diamond and jewelry, aviation, you have retails. If you go, you search, you'll find tons of applications and softwares.
mm,
So you need to understand like what is best for you. So understanding AI. So I don't say that you need to be well versed, but at least you need to understand AI. What AI brings you. What is the cyber security? Because cyber security is not right now and just an IT problem.
mm.
It's a boardroom discussion every day.
Yes.
Because whenever I have the steering committee meetings, every time they have some cyber security risk news that is in US that is going on. So
Mm,
those kind of, so it is always so now it is gaining that momentum. And you need to understand whatever business in you are leading, it's like how the business operate, what are the different functions, what are the values every function or every person is adding to the success. So and you should always be forward thinking. Okay. The third is you need to see beyond your own role. Like as a CIO, I am working with sales because I'm not only working with the systems, I'm working with different business leaders in my organization. So I need to learn to see on from their lens also, from compliance people, from sales people lens also, from accounts people say lens also, from the support team. I have the back office support, the
mm.
processes support team. So I understand their perspective, and you need to spend time with different people. You need to create like cross you can say cross functional forums kind of thing, where you can understand their perspective and then jump into any conclusion or giving them a solution. So that is where. And the last but not the least is I think leaders should not be afraid of setbacks or tough assignments. You'll not get easy thing in the life. That is
Yeah.
where I can say
Mm,
you'll always have your setbacks. It's not about winning or failing. It's just the reflection, and the tough assignments is where your most valuable lessons you get from.
mm.
Like once you get into that situation, you will understand each perspective of your project, where you are failing, what are the risks, what are the areas where I need to push more kind of things.
Yes.
So
Wonderful.
these experience builds resilience and judgment. So I say in and whole, you need to have bits and pieces from all the departments, from all your experience. And first you need to build that experience and have that patience and calmness to be leader, because you will always be thrown into tough situations as a leader. So that is very, yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think, yeah, it's a very helpful advices and very, very practical for the younger generations out there. That also wraps up the interview for today. Thank you, Shalyn, for a very thoughtful and crowded conversation. And thanks so much for sharing your experiences so openly. I think a lot of our audiences here will benefit a lot from your own experience. And
Yeah.
to everyone who's listening, thanks so much again for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to subscribe and share it with someone who might find it valuable. Until next time, take care.
Thanks, Dan, for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of
Thanks.
the day then.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.